Let's dive into how to do a group training. I'm going to use this one as an example because it's pretty basic. It's a simple one. Start out with this, show them the roadmap. So show them where whatever training you're giving them falls into that roadmap. And then you dive into key points. And the point of the key points is whatever they're struggling with or whatever they're not understanding. So sometimes it's absolute statements that needs to be in there. It's keep it simple because people start explaining things way too in depth, especially like halfway through the summer. At the very beginning of summer, they don't they have different fluctuations throughout the summer of when they are way too wordy and when they're not. And so your key points depend on season of summer, whatever your office is struggling with. And then the verbal, which by the way, you can go, even if it's not on the slide, you can go add things to that. Then to dive in, depending on the training, some of the trainings can be more basic and they're foundational. And so I have slides where it just goes more into depth with it. And then the other trainings, the other trainings that go more into depth are the ones that are the opposite side of the spectrum, which is complex, like the in-depth, how to go like hardcore bandwagon on the initial or on the introduction, or how to get into somebody's backyard, whatever it is, like where it's in-depth principles that I want them to go understand. Then you go into the verbal. I show them this. And then I just have everybody stand up and role play it and then sit back down. When I break this down, I break everything down into verbal, paraverbal, body language. And I try to only do 1 to 2, I guess, main key points for each section. So verbal, say, hey, all I want you guys to do is get these words down. And so I don't care if you have good body or if you have good eye contact. If you don't have the words memorized, then read them off the screen as you're role playing. That's all that you really need to do. So I do that, and then I dive into paraverbals. Tell them the 2 things that I want them to focus on. And then as I dive into it, I show them a bad example, and then I show them a good example. So the bad example, the point of it is to give a really, really extreme version, or at least a somewhat extreme version of what I'm seeing as I'm knocking with reps, or as I'm seeing as I'm role playing with reps. And so, for example, if my whole goal is to help them stop putting a ton of pauses in their features and benefits, which I see a lot of rookies do that. They'll put multiple pauses all throughout the whole thing. Then I will show them the negative consequence of doing that, like how they sound. And then I'll show them the good example. So I say, let's listen to this. Your goal with this is to be very fluid. This is me, how I go explain to everybody. And so you don't need to go, when I say emphasize have to, you don't have to go put a pause before and after. It's just elongate the word, right? And you don't need to pause anywhere other than the periods and the commas. So let me show you a bad example of what it looks like if you're just putting pauses in a bunch of different places. So the first thing I have to do is treat the yard. Because if you don't treat the yard, you will never get rid of the nesting sites of the ants and the ticks. And then usually I try to make it very, very cringy. And I'll show them a good example. So I'm like, see, sounds like you were saying it like that was a full essay, even though it was literally 2 sentences. And if it was hard for you to hear, then just think about how hard it is for the customer to hear that. So if you're putting that many pauses throughout the whole approach. So now let's look at what it sounds like if you just keep it fluid without putting a ton of pauses. And when you just elongate the word rather than put a pause before and after. The first thing I have to do is treat the yard. If you don't treat the yard, you will never get rid of the nesting sites of the ants and the ticks. And yeah, and then I'll have everybody go stand up, role play this, sit back down. And when they're role playing, the key is go listen to who's doing it well and who's not. And so afterwards, you'll have a rookie and a vet come up that has done it well, and you'll listen to them. And I have the rookie go first, and my goal is, hey, we're only listening to paraverbals. We're not paying attention to everything else, just paraverbals. That's what we're focusing on. And it's just these specific paraverbals, which when they're doing this, it's very, very important that you don't tell them they're doing something good when they aren't. So if their body language is awful, but they get the pauses right on, then you can tell them they did that well. but you don't have to go tell them that everything was really good. And if they didn't do the positives well, then one, you should have tried to go find a better person to go bring up. But two, don't say that they did it well, because then that doesn't help them and it doesn't help anybody else that's learning from them and listening in the crowd, right? And so you go do that. Awesome. All we're focusing on is this, paraverbals. Then you have the vet go, same thing. And then you go into body language. Same principles. Teach them it. Show them a really bad example. Show them a good example. Have them sit back down or have them go role play it. And then when they stand up and they come, you have a vet and a rookie come up and role play it again. What I do is I'll have the rookie go first. And once again, only body language. So now, even if they suck with the pauses, as long as they did well with the body language, then that is what you're focused on, right? And then I have the vet go, and I say, cool, now we're paying attention to everything. Make sure he gets the words right. Paraverbals, what are we paying attention to? Awesome. You're right. Pauses and emphasis. And then body language, what are we paying attention to for that? And you dive into that, and then cool. And then we watch him, see how he did, applaud. And then when you finish out, I like to finish with a core value, because I'll give them a challenge with this of, hey, I want everybody to go try to use have to, need to statements or absolute statements in every feature and benefit that they have all day long. And I'm excited to go hear stories tomorrow or whatever it is. And then go dive into the paraverbals. When you the core value. And when you end on this, it ends on a note that helps them understand the bigger picture, the principles that actually help them become better versions of themselves. They understand that there's a bigger purpose. So for example, hard work or gratitude or whatever it is. And when you end with that, it typically leaves everybody else in a better mood. And it puts you in a place where you get to make a solid positive impact on other people. You get to go teach core principles that when applied well, they become better. They become better versions of themselves. And that's our whole goal as we're doing this.